Hello everyone, what's up? Today we introduce a new type of video at the Race for Terra. Instead of our usual community showcase, where I show you the work of some of the top modelers and painters in our Discord community, from now on, I will be interviewing them. Whether you are a wargamer or a scale modeler, if you want to learn more about weathering, start now by subscribing and clicking the bell. So hello there, Rick, and thank you for coming onto the channel.
Hello.
So to continue the tradition, we'd like you to tell us a bit more about your latest stack in your Blackshields force. So could you tell us a bit about the process whereby you arrived at this wonderful result?
Well, it was a bit of an uphill battle, I'd say. It was an eBay purchase, and I bought it along with something else. I bought it with the Vindicator, and they were both in pretty poor shape, and I bought them for a very cheap price. And I knew that they were in poor shape, but the Scorpius was, not only was it in poor shape, it was really badly built, and it had some broken parts and some missing parts. So it took quite a bit of effort to unstick bits of it, to cut bits off, to make new pieces, and as I showed you before, even add missing rivets or rivets that I damaged in removing parts. So yeah, quite a bit of a rebuild, really. Quite an effort for me.
I think you've just answered the next question, really, about what the main challenges were for you. So would you say that it was that rebuild?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the paintwork is still a challenge. It's still a very big learning curve for me, very steep. But the real thing to really to put the effort in on that one was actually rebuilding it and turning it into something that was better. I think some of the casting isn't very good. I've tried to correct it and fill things here and there, but it's one of those early Forge World things where things aren't necessarily as good as they can be every time. And it definitely took a bit of effort to turn it around. And as I look at some of the photos, look at the model, it's still not perfect. It could still have extra effort, but it is just a Scorpius Whirlwind, and it was a great learning process for me. So that's enough. I've done enough on it. It's good enough for me for now.
Is any model ever perfect, though?
Probably not. No, but I saw that and the Predator and a couple of others that I've still got in the queue as some kind of training for bigger, greater, better things. And these are my little testing ground for different paint ideas, different weathering ideas, and in this case, lots of plastic card ideas.
Well, let me tell you, may look upon it and see imperfections. I think that's natural. It happens to all of us. But I looked at it and I thought it was really, really impressive. I think it's really tastefully done. I think the rebuilding work you've done is impressive, but you know, my thing really is weathering, and I think it's extremely well done, the weathering. You should be happy.
Yeah, I'm pleased with it. There's always bits that you could probably tweak or you might do differently next time. But as I said, that's how I viewed these cheap eBay purchases, as sort of testing grounds, really, for new ideas, for some of the stuff that I've talked through with you and other people on the Discord, and really tried to push my skills and my ideas a little further, with the hope that further down the line things are easier, more straightforward, and better, hopefully better.
Since you mentioned the Discord, was there a discussion or a person perhaps on the Discord that served as inspiration for you with this latest project?
I'd say, I think I said it before, but this again, certainly with the amount of rebuilding with plastic card and green stuff and the little rivets, it's definitely Jan. I mean, I didn't speak to him about it and how to do it. It's just seeing his work continually shown on the Discord and seeing his attitude and his aptitude for creating stuff from nothing and taking things and repurposing them. His inventiveness and his ingenuity and his daring as well. Just nothing seems to hold him back. He wants to make something, he makes it. He's just a guy that I've never met him, but he just seems to me to be a guy that would just roll his sleeves up and get on with stuff and make stuff happen. and I always am impressed by the things that he posts on the Discord. And I just thought, well, this is where I should be trying some of that stuff out myself. This is where I should push that a little further. This is the perfect thing. And at the end of it all, if it all goes wrong and I feel like throwing it out the window or smashing it up with a hammer, it was £20 on eBay, and I could make scenery from it or something.
Sounds
Like
oddly
set the room.
familiar. That impulse to throw something out of the window.
Yeah, yeah, we all have that sometimes, don't we, Enrique? Yes.
Well, if we didn't try and push the envelope, and if we didn't, as you said, follow Jan's example, which I think is a very good one, then we
Yeah.
never really progress, would we? So,
No, no, no. And the weathering itself, it was just me trotting out another version of, a Black Shield scheme that's been hastily painted on, that's weathered off, just like the white schemes that you get in Second World War tanks on the Russian front and so on. It's that kind of idea adapted and pushed into the 31st millennium. And for my force in my style, they're a load of crazy sort of ravaging anarchist types who paint everything black with a bit of red and some logos on it. Underneath it is the the original source as to who they were owned by. They've been stolen, looted, whatever. So it was another push in that direction, another go at doing chipping that shows through previous paint schemes. And obviously on top of that, as you see with the streaking and the rust, it's just trying lots of crazy new ideas to sort of settle into how do I paint things? What is my style? And or by accident or by design, I don't really know. This has become a thing that I do.
well, actually, you've again preempted my next question, which was going to ask you to explain, to expound a bit more on your concept, not just for this tank, but for the whole army. So you just explained it basically.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, like I've been following the 30K scene for years now. I don't think I've seen that concept applied before. So I think you also should take some pride in actually having come up with that idea. I think it's brilliant.
You surprise me when you say that, actually, because I mean I'm on the periphery of the 30K scene. It's not something that I've managed to play. It's something that I've watched for several years now, and I like to think that I've seen a certain amount of painted armies, painted figures, people's ideas, followed decent people online, and so on. But it just seemed like the right thing for me. My concept is that they started from nothing and only have what they've looted, stolen, borrowed, won in battle, and taken over and daubed their own stuff on and turned it into their own. So everything's old, everything's worn, everything's weathered, everything's rusty, everything's broken. It's an almost orc-like attitude to scavenging stuff. And yeah, I guess it's probably no surprise that I used to play orcs in 40K. It's that kind of mindset, really.
Without painting it red to go faster.
Yeah, there's a little bit of red on there.
Rick, just one last question. You've mentioned a couple of times that you're thinking of bigger projects. Could you tell us a bit more
Yeah,
about what they might be?
I think somewhere either side of Christmas, I really hope to do the Typhon that you convinced me I ought to look out for. And within days, of course, I'd found one on eBay again with a Space Wolves paint scheme, which I think is probably going to come off in a bath of isopropyl. And I shall paint it with another paint scheme. I don't know. You
Hmm.
suggested something like a Death Guard scheme. Maybe I should try that. So it will be weathered and then a Black Shields scheme put over the top of that and weathered some more. So maybe that will be my sort of culmination of all of that crazy learning. That's one thing, and the other thing is to dig out and bravely have a go at my anti-aircraft half track
Hmm.
1/35th scale that I've been hoarding in my little cupboard for about 7 or 8 years and too frightened to do. Well, I think I'm going to have to do that sometime early into the new year. So they're the next two big things. In the slow run up to that, I've got a couple more Predators and now a Sabre and some bits and bobs to do. But
Excellent.
by the time I've got them out of my system, the big things, I hopefully do them justice.
So could we say that basically, like me, you're going to start doing scale models and 30K kind of in parallel?
Yeah,
Maybe?
it's a thing that I've always had in my mind that I ought to do because that's what I did as a child.
Hmm.
That's what I did to some degree, with historical wargaming 20 something years ago, 30 years ago. It's something I've always had in my mind that I should go back to, I should do.
Right.
But there's a certain there's a certain amount of trepidation that I view that whole thing with, because I think now that I do some of the things that I would want to do it well, do it justice,
Hmm.
and looking into the military modeling's world is wow. There's some amazing stuff there. So it's yeah, this is a build up to some of that too, perhaps. Yeah,
Yeah, same for me. I've seen this first tank of mine, the Panzer one, with some apprehension, and I continue
yeah,
to feel that way a bit.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the bar is set pretty high, isn't it?
It is naturally by so many people, so many talented people, and so much um, depth to the scene. It's been doing. People have been doing this stuff for decades. 30K and 40K is a real newcomer to this stuff.
Hmm.
It's struck me as a massive irony that years ago I used enamels for all my wargaming figures. I used enamels as a kid for
Right.
my Airfix models. And now, here we are only in the last year or so meeting you folks, talking on the Discord, watching your videos on YouTube, that here I am reverting to using enamels again, having spent the last 5 or 6 years doing
Umbrella bit.
stuff with acrylics. No, using enamel products, the weathering products like
Hmm.
streaking rust and so on. But
No,
yeah, no, I will.
in the old days, I mean.
In the olden days, absolutely, and I still have some, and they still work. They're still fine in their little tins.
They don't dry up so quickly, do they?
No, no, yeah, and good quality paints. I mean, many of my historicals were painted that way. All my old D&D stuff, 30 odd years ago, I used Humbrol enamels out of the little tins. That's what everybody had. That's what I could get in the local model store.
Right.
So it's a strange irony and quite nice, really, that I seem to be heading back to using all of that kind of stuff now, and synthetic brushes and thinners and so on. And I found it so much more useful, so much more adaptable, so much more
Hmm.
user friendly, so much more,
Or forgiven, perhaps. Yeah.
yeah, forgiving. Absolutely the right word. It's a very forgiving material. Substance to use for the stuff that we've now been using doing on our models. So yeah, to see back, to revert back to looking at historical models is just amazing. Some of the stuff that people have been doing in the last few decades is really pushed the boundaries of what's achievable. So I don't have a problem. We said before about me. I don't really play games. I played one game of 40K this year, and I don't play Heresy. I played it with my son probably 4 5 years ago or something,
Hmm.
a couple of times when it was seventh edition. Um, but I'm not bothered about making and painting stuff and justifying it by the fact that it's built and painted for gaming. Nobody does that in military modeling. They
Right.
don't paint tanks and create weathered masterpieces with the justification that the end result is a gaming piece. That isn't the case in military modeling. So why should I apply that to my Blackshields force? Yeah, of course it would be great to do some gaming at some point, but that's not why I do it. I do it because I have this crazy idea in my head and I just want to get it out and turn it into something tangible with loads of crazy bits and bobs that I amass and buy and scrounge and get from eBay and cut and paste together into crazy creations.
Indeed. That is the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it
I
is
think
for me. Or it
I
has
think
become for me anyway.
I think gaming, once we're able to resume operations with gaming, I think it's more of a happy side product.
Yeah, well, that's my view. I mean, a lot of people, it's the other end of the telescope that they look down, and it's all about gaming and painting is what allows them to do that gaming, and hurrah for that. But that's this year certainly with a lack of
Hmm.
ability to play games and latterly a little bit more time to be able to focus on my modeling and painting, it has actually proved to me and served to remind me very well that I am a builder and a modeler first, a painter a close second, enthusiast painter that is, not, I don't mean in terms of skill. But gaming is definitely a third for me, definitely a third. I'm not sure I would have said that a year ago, but this has proven that, 2020 has proved that to me. So that's a good thing, I guess.
Well, let us hope in any case that in 2021, once the Nurgle plague abates, as it hopefully will, that we can get together, maybe also with folks like Jan, and play a couple of games.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that would be really cool. I'd love to come over to continental Europe and meet some of you guys. And crikey, we'd be up till the small hours talking tall tales of rust streaks and God knows what. Yeah, but that would be fun. That would be really cool. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Rick. It's been fantastic to talk to you, and I'm sure that our viewers will have enjoyed looking at your models and listening to your sage advice. And see you next time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, James, and thank you very much for coming into the channel tonight.
Thank you for having me, Enrique. It's always a pleasure to finally speak to you in the flesh, so to speak.
So to speak, as far as Nurgle allows.
Yes, Papa Nurgle providing, but it's very nice to finally see you.
Likewise. So I've had a look at your amazing Death Guard models, and I'd very much like for you to explain to our viewers what the process has been like for you in weathering those guys.
Well, it's been great, really. It's been hard because I started these guys before I was aware of chipping as such. So these guys had already been airbrushed before I was aware of the hairspray method, all that sort of stuff. So they already had the base layers down. So it was kind of like starting from a heavy metal style and going to the weathered style. So I missed out one of the steps, but I was able to kind of hit it with the enamels and stuff later on. But it was great, really. So it was really nice to be able to do this because obviously previously I've done a lot of heavy metal stuff, and it's nice to be able to do some like for like to see the difference between heavy metal and your sort of weathered styles and be able to sort of really see the difference. So that's been really cool. Um, but I mean, in terms of like the process, it was mainly sort of getting down the base colors and getting the varnish, and then basically smashing it to pieces with all the enamels, and then slowly taking it away. I always seem to find as well. I don't know if I take away too much, but I find the golden number with the track wash is 2. So I find 2 layers of track wash really seems to hit it. Did one, and it just did not seem to
Not
get
good
exactly the
enough.
right. Yeah, maybe 3. I should try that.
That's great. It's really interesting that you mentioned that difference between the heavy metal style, if you like, and a more weather kind of traditional Forge World style.
Yeah, it's really cool just to see the difference. Really, it's hard. It's because I've kind of gone from more of a speed paint style with the plague marines that we've done weathered. So I don't think they're quite as good as some of my other the original guys. But I think I spent about 3 months doing those about a year ago, so I wasn't as good a painter. But it's kind of weird to see the difference. But I think the weathered guys look really really good, and they do, especially for plague marines as well. I think they're a lot more sort of real if you're going to have real plague marines. I think they kind of capture that more. Whereas the heavy metal's a bit more cartoony, which I kind of like sometimes, but it's not weathered.
I mean, none of it is real, right? Because it's science fiction, but still, it's that believability, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I looked at those guys, and for example, in that side by side comparison of yours, and if you look at things like the metals, I think the difference is quite stark, actually.
Yeah, definitely. I think I mean the metals in this guy. You think there's also I've tried to use the patina stuff, which is something that guys from the race for Terra have taught me about because I didn't really go for that technique before because I could never get it to look right. So it's really kind of forced me to kind of adapt as a painter because the guys are like, "But where's the patina? Where's the verdigris?" And I was like, "What verdigris? You don't get verdigris." So it kind of forced me to learn how to do that, and I'm really glad I have actually because I think looking at them, just that slight little bluey green tinge to them really kind of offsets the copper, and I think that's a lot better. and like it's just a lot darker. I admit I have done a very, very tiny amount of edge highlighting. You'll be upset to hear, but I feel like I've done it tastefully.
Yes, I would agree completely.
Yeah.
And the thing about the verdigris as well is that it's nice because on the one hand, it does give you that contrast of colors, but also it's kind of realistic, or convincing, if you like. So
Yeah.
it's quite a nice effect.
Yeah, definitely glad the guys pushed me towards doing that. So all this whole squad and the apothecary have now got the patina, and that's the first models I've ever done patina on.
It looks great. That was the right choice.
Yeah.
What have you enjoyed the most?
Ooh, I mean, the rusting streaks. I just love doing the rusting streaks. I think it's always pleasurable. I think it's harder on these little guys, so it's harder, whereas when I did it on the Dreadnought, you've got this massive canvas, and you can pull away the paint. You're like, yeah, that looks amazing. Whereas on the little guys, it's a bit harder to get your brush in the right place, especially with the Nurgle guys. They've got so much going on. You've kind of got less canvas to work with in a
Right.
way, so it's hard. But there's a few spots on them, and I feel like the streaking is always the most fun. But you're getting close to the end of the miniature, and you kind of just finishing touches. I always find that's the most fun for me.
So, what would you say were the main challenges in the project for you? Were there any hiccups?
Yes, there was one massive hiccup, which I don't know if you are aware of, on the plague surgeon, the apothecary guy. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a couple of holes where basically what's happened is I have either varnished too thinly or not enough. So I think when I've either mixed it, the varnish with, I tend to use flow improver,
Right.
just to just weaken it down, because otherwise it's too gunky. And I don't know if I've used too much, so I haven't covered the model enough. And then when I've used the enamels, I've actually taken a chunk out of the model in a couple of places, unfortunately, which is kind of weird. So what I'm thinking is that I've basically either not left it to cure long enough. I mean, I've probably left it at least a few hours. I can't really remember now.
The varnish.
Or the varnish, yeah. Or I've not done enough layers. So I think from now on, I'll be doing at least 2 layers and giving it 24 hours to set. Whereas previously, I probably did 1 layer, and I don't know how long I gave it. So that was one problem. So there's a couple of errors on the plague surgeon. Fortunately, enamels are great, and I just enameled those areas. So it's I've just kind of covered it up with kind of muck and dirt, which fortunately for the plague marines kind of works.
James, there's something else I meant to ask you. Can you tell us anything about any future projects? What's next in line?
So at the moment, I am working on 2 Lord of Contagions that went wrong, and they're currently sat in some isopropyl alcohol, boiling off their paint so I can start them again. But I will be doing one fully chipped, fully weathered, and then just to do things a bit differently, I'm going to do one in a completely cartoon style, which is something I saw recently, which I just fancy trying to do something different. And the model, I don't know if you'll have seen him, he's a bit jokey, so I think he's not necessarily not gonna suit weathering, but he might as well be done in a jokey style. Whereas the other guy is more of a serious model. So with that one, we can kind of hit him with the enamels, hit him with the chipping fluid, and they will look great. I just need to be patient, which is my main flaw. I mean, there's so many projects going on. I've just built that the proxy for the Terrax termite, which does look like a really fun model to paint. So that's definitely up on the queue. But then also I've got the Predator, this one where I'm somehow the plastic octopus is gonna go inside that effectively and be spilling out the back and the sides. So that's something I'm looking forward to as well. So I think that will look really good as well, because I'll be basically able to do the same sort of techniques I did on the Contemptor on the Predator, but then we'll have a load of crazy tentacles popping out. So I think that will be quite exciting to see.
Sounds great. Well, thank you very much, James. It's been great to talk to you and to hear about your projects, current and future. And I hope to see some of those models, including the cartoony Lord of Contagion, in the channel soon.
Definitely. Thank you.
So, Alex, thank you very much for coming onto the channel. Welcome to the Race for Terra. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure being here.
So, can you tell us a bit about the models that you're entering for this community spotlight, and tell us something about the process, in particular in terms of weathering?
Sure, yeah. I mean, the entrance, as most 30K players will see, are a squad of Phalanx Warders. I did 15 in the end. I originally wanted 5, but my sister gifted me an upgrade kit to Christmas, so what are you gonna do? Yeah, I mean, mainly what I wanted to do for that squad was the marble effect on the shields, and I wanted to work on the way I highlight yellow or do highlights on infantry in general.
Right.
What I tried to do, and I'm not sure that it actually worked, but it kind of worked a bit, is that I tried to do the highlighting in kind of bands of light and dark that blend into each other, like we see it on the drawn pictures in the black box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's actually kind of hard, but in the few places where I had the feeling that it might have worked, I was really pleased with the results. So yeah.
Interesting. That sounds to me very much like color modulation.
Yeah, I think it probably is. I mean, you did the whole talks with Matt Murphy-Kane, and I think there's a lot of, or it has been established that there's a lot of traditional military modeling techniques that went into the First World style of painting, and funnily enough, now the more weathering and modeling kind of influenced Forge World style is getting influenced by other people's who come from a more, let's call it, artsy side of painting, which I find quite interesting, because both of those things are very cool to see and very fun if people get it really right. Yeah, normally my process is that the first thing I do is a yellow, because it's just the most time-consuming step, and well, it's like 80% of the model. Afterwards, I usually do a step of sponge weathering for infantry, just with a dark brown color. Don't really have a fixed color, just some dark brown. When I first used sharp brown by Vallejo, but when it was empty, I just darkened other browns down with black, and no one cares or sees it. So yeah. And then I usually do the details. And if there's, for example, if the sergeant has a stripe on his helmet, then I weather that again with the color where it's striped over. For the Warders, I decided to do everything at first, which of course was a huge mistake, because the first lesson I learned when I started sponge weathering was that when there's details on the model and you want to, for example, with the Warders, you want to weather the yellow armor of the shoulder plate, you also will turn the green laurels brown and the red heraldic shield and stuff like that, which was very annoying. So I basically relearned the first lesson I ever learned about weathering on this project.
I think we always learn something new with each project.
Yeah, sure, probably. Yeah, I also focused a bit on wet blending, because I took a class during the blissful COVID light summer when we still could meet outdoors. And there I finally learned how to wet blend. And funnily enough, after doing it for 5 times with drying retarder, you can do it without. And so that worked really well for me, especially on the Vexilla. The green bar is there, because the rest I airbrushed, but there I managed to wet blend, and that was pretty cool for me. Yeah, and then of course the marble, which is done with the wet trick, which we talked a lot about on the Discord, I think. And yeah, it's a cool trick. Just like most things, you just have to practice it a bit. I think I tried it 5 or 6 times before it worked. I tried it on the shields for my Terminators. It doesn't look horrible, but it also doesn't look like marble. And I tried it on the front plate of my Whirlwind / Rhino, and there it looks kind of like marble. And now I feel like I have it semi down so that it actually starts looking like marble. So I'll be marbling up lots of things.
That's one thing I have yet to try. So I'll be following your footsteps there. Alex, I meant to ask you, I think you've partly answered that, but what would you say were the main challenges in this project of yours with the Phalanx Warders?
All right, yeah, because I messed up my normal process, the main challenge was that I had everything done to the standard that I want to have it done. And then I sponged brown over all of it, which of course was infuriating. Yeah, and else painting a squad of 15 guys is pretty annoying. And I usually do 10 guys or 5.
Right.
And that works quite well. And I feel if I paint a squad, I want to paint all of them at the same time, so the squad is consistent. I'm not that not interested, but I'm not concerned about consistency between squads or between vehicles that were painted at different times, as long as the whole army looks consistent, which it does. I feel it's fine if like squad A that got into the field 3 months ago is a bit dirtier than squad B that only got there 2 weeks ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but keeping 15 guys consistent, especially this squad came with a lot of sub-assemblies because obviously you can't paint a breastplate if there's a shield and a gun in the way. That was kind of challenging. Normally I glue on one arm or both arms and then just take the gun as a sub-assembly, which is pretty easy. Yeah, but here I kind of didn't really know the pose, or only roughly knew the pose the model would have once I glue it together, because I put everything on paper clips for painting in sub-assemblies and then pin it. Yeah, so that also was, if I think about it, that probably was the biggest challenge, putting it all together in the end and having it look consistent and doing little let's say, corrections once the models were all put together.
Of course. Sounds like a labor of love to me.
I mean, the whole army is really, which is funny because I really didn't want to paint yellow.
Well, you have done quite a few of yellow and there's more to come, right?
Yeah, I'm nearing 100 infantry models now. I think I'm like at 98 or 99 infantry models with all the characters.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the 4 apothecaries are white, so.
It's nice to have apothecaries. Always helps for infantry
sure.
heavy armies.
Yeah.
So Alex, okay, we've talked mostly about challenges, and I can see that that was a very labor intensive project. What would you say you enjoyed the most?
Yeah, definitely the moment the baby wipes came off the shields and I saw that it's actually marble and I wasn't wasting 2 hours of my life. So yeah, that's been definitely the most satisfying moment. And the second most satisfying moment was definitely painting the base frames black and having everything done, putting them together and putting those 15 guys into formation, seeing the phalanx standing there.
They look great. And as far as the marbling is concerned on the shields, I think it looks fantastic, and I'm sure the viewers will agree with us as well. So Alex, is there a Race for Terra video that served as inspiration, or maybe a discussion on the Discord? I know there were quite a few that you think inspired or informed your process.
Just wanted to say, discussions on the Discord were really helpful because I usually don't post work in progress steps on forums or some such, because it's not really a lot of work, but it feels like there is maybe it's in my head, but I feel like there is a barrier to entry for posting work in progress pictures on forums, because you have to upload the picture, put it on your computer and stuff like that. And here I can just snap a picture, post it into the work in progress channel, and people will answer and have a good take on what I want to do. And especially people kind of know what look I'm going for. Of course, there's people that can come from the way more gritty weathering side of things, and other people that come more from the painterly side of things, let's call it. But that's cool because I want both of those influences. But what I found hard in other communities is that there's mainly like the speed paint people and the let's call it the GW heavy metal style faction will tell you, oh no, edge highlight and more contrast and put a wash on. And the other guys like, you're spending too much time, just do a dry brush and put some quick shade over it and you're done. And I'm like, yeah, no, but I'm going for something different because I like the weathered forgeworld style. And that's been really helpful for me because you can have lots of discussions about what to do, and you see what other people do in their projects, and can take that. For example, I think today or yesterday evening there was some beautiful Alpha Legion with a great metal workup that we saw in the Work in Progress channel, and that just helps seeing that, getting inspired, and thinking, hey, maybe I try that. And as I said, I don't mind different models looking different because they're just different squads, so they can.
I think I think you'll agree with me that one thing that's unique to our Discord, we're only 76 people right now, so it's not a very big community, but I think it's far less judgmental and far more helpful and insightful than your average forum. And I've had lots of great feedback from folks that have helped me a lot in my own projects. There's a lot of skilled people, and also, as you said before, like coming from different backgrounds, so it's quite rich in a way. And I think I've never seen anybody post anything negative, basically, to be honest.
Yeah, and especially it's not like nobody thinks that they have the one true way to do it. It's like you could try X, Y, and Z, and it might look cool in this situation, and not do that.
Yeah. Right. So we're going to talk about what you're doing next. I kind of know, but our viewers, some of them may not. So, and it involves tags. So please.
Yeah, it involves a whole lot of tanks. Basically, if I look over my left shoulder, on the table there is two Sicarans for my Imperial Fist. It's a Venator and a normal Sicaran. And they're almost done, but they sadly won't make it into the community showcase because some secret enamel stuff that I definitely took from a more recent Race to Terra video is still drying, and I'm not quite happy on some effects, so I'll probably be doing some more layers of enamel that just need their time to dry, which is normally half a day to a day. And so I probably present them, and then there's already my project for after that, and it's double in size, let's say.
I see. Well, that sounds good.
And double in firepower. So there's a super heavy coming to Terra, and it's a beast. I think I spent like 5 hours building it today.
Oh, you've built it already? Okay.
Yeah, it's already built, and I've put rust primer on already.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, you will. I'll be trying at least one new technique on that as well. So, I'm looking forward to it. And the plan in the middle distance is I need 3 more Rhino chassis so I can field complete tank force armored breakthrough list.
Oh, nice, very nice. One of my favorite kinds of lists.
Yeah, I think it's super pointless to do it as fists, but I also think it's cool. So
very cool. Looking forward to seeing that. And I hope that once Nurgle allows us, I can actually fight against it on the battlefield.
Yeah, I'd like that very much. I mean, maybe we manage to get a Euro or German-centric Race for Terra meet. I mean, there's actually quite a lot of Germans and people from the Netherlands in the Discord, so we could probably cook something up.
I hope so. That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
All right, Alex, thank you so much. It's been great to talk to you, and I'm sure that the viewers will have enjoyed not only listening to us, but seeing the pictures of your great work. And I also hope to see those Sicarans in the next video. How about that?
Yeah, I'll make it work. Thanks. Yeah, it's a pleasure finally managing to do a showcase.
So, Luca, welcome to the Race for Terra. Thank you for coming onto the channel tonight.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
You've submitted Dark Angels, a unit of Dark Angels Interruptors. Is that correct?
I love my Dark Angels, and they are the latest unit I painted for my army, which I started now I think 4 years ago. Back at the time, I did not have any kind of reference or other stuff, so I had to make a lot of stuff up. And a lot of things change in the meantime, and these Interemptors are the latest result of that. Right.
A long journey for you with the First Legion?
Oh yes, a very long journey. In fact, I started now I think 11 years ago in 40k, and I couldn't wait to have them in the Horus Heresy. And I couldn't wait, so I started them as soon as the rules in Retribution came out. But I did not have any idea on color schemes, heraldry. I mean, you didn't have any reference. So I was lucky, and I made a bet, and I used a lot of red because I just thought that it complemented well with the black, and it made them different from the other legions. But still, it was a lot of guesswork. And my main problem with the Interemptors that I submitted for the showcase comes from this, stems from this origin of the army, because at the time I was using as a reference the description of the First Legion in the Unremembered Empire.
Right.
Where they are described as very disciplined and neat and tidy and knightly. So my army, when I started it, was trying to go for this kind of look. Now, the background of the First Legion, well, you can say it was developed, but it actually changed, I think, quite a lot in Book 9. Have you had the chance to read it?
Not completely, but I have the book and I flipped through it. Yeah.
Well, I think they left the knightly aspect behind a little bit and went more with angel of judgment, like Old Testament angel. So there is a lot more space, a lot more a grimy and dirty and battered look is far more appropriate. But the problem I had, and especially with these Interemptors, since they are part of the Dreadwing, which is the destroyers part of the Legion, is to make them fit within the army I already started, which was very clean and neat. And so this was the main challenge for me, to make them fit, while at the same time staying true to their nature as destroyers and as part of the Dreadwing.
Fascinating. The Dreadwing, by the way, is my favorite by far, I have to say.
Oh, yes. they have received a lot of love in the last years. But I have always been a Deathwing guy, and I just love them. I always played them. I just have to figure out how to make the Rite of War work, because it sounds kind of punishing a little too much. But yeah, yes, I'm going to work on a Dreadwing army at the moment.
Awesome.
And yeah, yes, I'm going to use it to expand on the weathering aspect. Definitely, I want them to be a lot more dirty, a lot more grimy and battered, and well, they use a lot of bad stuff. So I'm going to use them to explore and to learn more techniques of this kind.
Sounds like right up my alley, but you know that already.
Indeed, I know, and that's the whole point. These models, these Interemptors, were my test bed for some of the things that I have been researching, some things that I have been thinking about, and also some products that I wanted to try. So an army is going to follow, but these were the first ones, and this is also the reason why I wanted to show them to you. So
right,
to get feedback, and to you and to the community to get feedbacks. And
what do you think you have enjoyed the most in the process of getting these guys painted up?
Well, I have enjoyed a lot playing with enamels. I use them as filters on the metals, but also on the armor to break up the black, which could be kind of flat otherwise. And I think it looks really cool. It makes a world of difference compared to shades like I was used to using. And apart from that, I also had a lot of fun with the OSL effect, but I was a bit heavy-handed, and I am currently trying to subdue it a little bit. I went overboard. I got carried away. I got enthusiastic. So well, I overdid it a little bit.
I have to say, I really like the OSL.
Well, I am glad to hear it. Thank you.
I really did. I wouldn't personally say you went overboard, but I mean, if you want a subtler look, I understand, but I really liked it myself. I thought it was very fitting.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. As we were discussing earlier, one is always a bit insecure and a bit unsatisfied with everything he does. So feedback like this is important. What was in my mind is that there is too much light on the arms of the miniature. And but I tried to avoid stuff like the body and the head, because I spent a lot of time using enamels and painting that, so I didn't want to cover it with just blue stuff. But the effect may be a little bit unnatural, so I am currently thinking about this. So perhaps a little less glowy and more concentrated, to making the plasma more concentrated and less.
I hope you don't redo them, though. You're not thinking about that, are you?
I considered doing it. I mean, the arms. I considered stripping the arms, but in the end, I decided against it.
I also think you should play them before anything else. Hopefully, at some point, we'll be able to play again, huh?
During the first lockdown, I had the Night Cenobium,
right.
And I painted them in February. So right after I finished the unit, I took like a whole month of painting them, and then the first lockdown happened, and I had to keep them on the shelf for like I don't know, 3 months. It was a pain. Luckily, I managed to snack in a few games during the last month or so, but now the situation is getting worse again, and yes, it's not good at all lately. So yes, I hope I will be able to play with them, to put them on the table soon. I also, in a very hopeful and a very optimistic move, invested on my gaming table lately. So I would love to be able to use it soonish.
And as I said to the other entrants, I'm looking to organize or co-organize perhaps a European event.
Oh, that would be very cool. I'm looking forward to that. I would love it.
I would really like to know to what extent the Discord server has been an influence for you or an inspiration, perhaps.
I mean, I always hesitate before posting stuff, to be honest, because as I was telling you, my Dark Angels army has committed the criminal sin of being heretic, like a good Dark Angel should. So they have some highlights, and I mean, I'm kind of on the fence, waiting to see who will win the Horus Heresy and stuff like that. I am, but to come back to the question, I take this kind of limitation as a propulsion, as a source of motivation to improve myself and to explore different avenues to be able to present them to the community. So when I will be there, when I will feel like I'm there, and I am finally starting to master certain techniques, or well, master is a big word, but decent results with certain techniques, I would love to show them on the Discord. So I see it at the moment like an aspiration, perhaps more than an inspiration, if it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
I don't know. Okay, this was a very convoluted answer, but I hope you can make something out of it.
Convoluted it may be, but I think it's a really good answer and one that many of us can relate to. I would like to say, though, I don't think any of us are masters, and I don't think we have to be. We're all learning. I think it's a continuous learning experience, really, for all of us,
yes,
myself included. I am definitely no master of anything.
Well, I am happy of this approach. I mean, I think it's very healthy. When people putting people on a pedestal, that's how the Horus Heresy happened, isn't it?
Very good analogy. No. Very good analogy. Luca, lastly, you've mentioned your Dreadwing army several times, and how you want that to be a future avenue for exploration. Could you tell us a bit more about what's in the pipeline for you as a hobbyist?
I have 11 more of them
on
the desk right now. So after that, I have 16 destroyers and also another Terrax assault drill.
Nice.
And lastly, I will, a lot of fun to be had with weathering pigments. And lastly, I will paint a Farit Red Loss character, which is the commander of the Dreadwing, which is a 3D printed model that a friend made for me. And cool. Yes, that technology is really interesting. I mean, he's a really cool character. I am basing him off on artwork from Horus Heresy Legions, the card game.
Nice.
Which is, I think, the only artwork we have of him. And he looks a lot like a regular Interemptor. So I don't know, I need to think about that as well. But yes, so a Termite, 11 more Interemptors, and a couple of squad of destroyers, and a Dreadwing commander. That's it. And then I am going to do the same thing with pretty much all of the wings. Since I am a very diehard Dark Angels fan, I need to have all of them.
That's really cool.
The Dreadwing is going to be the first, and because there's a lot of stuff I want to try, and that's your fault.
Well, I'm glad to be guilty of that charge. So, Luca, it's time to wrap things up. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure that the viewers will have enjoyed it as well. Thank you very much, Luca.
Well, I hope so. Thank you, and see you soon.
See you soon. Bye for now. If you too want to participate in a vibrant Discord community of fellow weathering enthusiasts, have your own work featured in a monthly community spotlight like this, or even commission me to make a specific video just for you, have a look at my Patreon page. Thank you all, and remember, keep it up and weather it out.